Welcome back to Minneapolis, almost to get set to get underway between the Golden Gophers and the Cornhuskers. Inside the Sports Pavilion, the final homestand of the regular season for Minnesota as they welcome in Nebraska, trying to get a win to even up the season series at 1 win apiece. That brings us to the starting lineups tonight. They're brought to you by Tachi Kara. When we take a look at the Cornhuskers, we talked about Hannah Worth, but Gina Mancuso, she has been the star for this team this season, Audrey.
Right, she's the left side hitter, and she has been so steady and so fun to watch, really the backbone of this program.
And the backbone for the Golden Gophers, as we take a look at their starting lineup, has been Catherine Harms throughout this entire season, the most improved player in all of the Big Ten.
And she could possibly be in the running for Player of the Year. She's managed to get some impressive numbers offensively throughout the course of this Big Ten season.
Head coach for the Cornhuskers is John Cook in his 13th season, a two-time AVCA Coach of the Year, National Coach of the Year, and a two-time national champion. Wants to go after a third national title during his tenure this season. Hugh McCutcheon, in his first year with the Golden Gophers, led this team to their best start in Big Ten play since 2006. And they opened up with a 10-2 record, coming over from the women's national team and the Olympics in London. Look at the series between these two, and Nebraska has been dominant in more matches with Minnesota than most Big Ten teams because they faced off often late in the 70s, early in the 80s. In a meeting earlier this year on October 14th, it was Nebraska in 4 sets. However, those sets were very close with the exception of the fourth. Set 2 and 3 went to Nebraska by just 2 points.
Yeah, and I guarantee you Hugh McCutcheon watched that film very carefully. He knows Nebraska's tendencies. They're ready for them tonight.
And we're underway. Lauren Cook serving to start things off, and the Gophers with the first attack from Dolly Santana. And it's Holmes with the left-handed swing for the first kill of the match.
Well, she has got that wicked left swing. Lefty attacker there on the right side. Catherine Harms has been outstanding all year.
Lindsay Lawmaster, libero for the Gophers, will head back to serve. Quick to Haley Tramer. And off the block, it's down. Another kill for Harms.
Catherine Harms is off to a really good start. She gets a lot of sets. We'll be calling her name all night long. What makes her so hard to defend against is she's got such a range in her attack, and she's patient. She'll get that immediate kill, but if it's not there, she'll swing high off the hands and try to get her team to block and dig for the point.
Harms in 3 straight points on 3 kills for Catherine Harms. We take a look at the keys for the Cornhuskers, Audrey.
Well, Nebraska needs to keep pressure on with their serve and defense and side-out offense. They cannot let up, and the big players have got to play big here on the road tonight.
Brookhuis on the left side, Tramer off the block. Again, it's Harms. This time she's out of play, so the run ends on the air by Catherine Harms.
But I know what's been problematic here in the first little bit of this set is Nebraska cannot get a kill on their side-out offense. So we'll see if that improves as this set goes on.
The one-handed set to Tori Dixon goes into the floor.
Well, what an impressive set that is to save the ball from going over the net, one-handed, and Dixon right there, right on the money. Great timing on her part.
Brookhuis tools the block for the Cornhuskers, and it's a 4-2 lead in the first set. We'll take a look at the keys for the Golden Gophers.
Well, for Minnesota, they have to attack from the service line. They've got some really good servers, Dixon, Harms, and Santana. And then they also need to slow down Nebraska's pin hitters. And Mancuso and Worth, they can really change the momentum of things for Nebraska. So if they can get touches on the ball, Minnesota will be in good shape.
The momentum right now for the Golden Gophers as Tori Dixon puts down another 2 kills for her. 3 kills for Catherine Harms to get things started. You see the numbers, 5th in the NCAA, leading the Big Ten with a .437 hitting percentage. And you and I, Audrey, talked before the match. She could be up for first-team All-American.
Well, I think she most certainly can. She is in the best shape of her life, and she's really playing some outstanding volleyball. I like how physically fit she is. She's taking big swings on the ball, but she is really doing a good job of getting nice touches for her team when she's up there blocking as well.
It's Ashley Whitman with the kill, and that's good to see. She tweaked her wrist last week, had to miss a couple of practices, and that was the wrist that she hits with.
Right, and she comes in so strong in that first attack, and she's hitting over Lauren Cook. A little undersized there. Cook is at 5'8", and Whitman stands at 6 foot and jumps so well.
It'll be Dixon to serve. And Lauren Cook with the dump over. We continue to see Nebraska side out on the serve of Minnesota.
Yeah, so that's what we have seen, a little bit of improvement there. They were shaking the first 2 points, but most definitely we've seen that nice crisp attack there by Lauren Cook.
And taking it away from Dolly Santana as well as Catherine Harms and Tori Dixon, 3 of the best servers in all of the Big Ten. Hannah Worth with the service error. It's a 7-4 lead for Minnesota. We talk about the serving because Minnesota, they play well when they serve well, according to head coach Hugh McCutcheon, and they did not serve well against Michigan this past weekend, losing matches against Michigan State and the Wolverines.
Right, you talk about those 2 losses. It'll be interesting to see how Minnesota manages those losses. You know, after the game, coaches have to be like psychologists, and what are they going to say to the team so that they bounce back? This is a huge match for Minnesota. We'll see if they come out strong tonight.
Both of these teams had their hands full in the state of Michigan as they both lost to the Spartans and the Wolverines. Nebraska already has responded while Minnesota is trying to do that tonight. Of course, join the conversation on Twitter, twitter.com/BTN Volleyball, hashtag B1G Volleyball. You can see it in the top right-hand corner of your screen. John Cook's team beating Indiana and Purdue at home last weekend. They have lost 3 of their last 6 matches. And Dana Knutson able to go off the net and get the kill as it goes off a Nebraska blocker and into the antenna.
Right, look at her speed as she approaches to the ball. The pass was that was delivered by Santana, the freshman. There you see her in the front court, nicely executed by Minnesota.
And Tramer tries to go cross court. Mancuso with too much, no touch called, so the point to the Gophers.
Mancuso's talking to Lauren Cook about the height of the set. She needs it a little bit faster. Somebody like her, you know, she's about 6 foot. She needs to beat the block by the speed of the set. It has to get out there quicker in order for her to score.
Gophers just able to keep it in play. Cook goes back to Mancuso. This time she terminates.
Nice tempo set to the pin. I love Cook as a setter. She is so good. She's got great hands. She takes a ball wherever it is on the court and really puts up very hittable balls for her hitters.
Lauren Cook, the 3-time Big Ten setter of the week this season. Santana with the tip, and it finds the floor.
That was more of a poor defensive play on Nebraska's part than a well-executed attack on Minnesota's part. You can see the set was not where Santana thought it was going to be, and so she just kind of plopped it over the net, and surprisingly, it landed on the floor.
Minnesota took the first set between these two in Lincoln, 25-18. And a block for the Gophers. The block will be so important for both of these teams. Nebraska was outblocked in those 3 losses over the past 2 weeks. And Santana goes cross court. The Gophers are fired up.
You know, Dolly Santana fires me up because she is only 17 years old, a kid from Puerto Rico, coming on to Minnesota's team and really doing a great job as a young player.
Minnesota on top 12-7 in set 1. 4 matches left to go in the regular season, and it looks like we're going to have a number of Big Ten teams in the NCAA tournament once again. At the very least, it looks like 7, including these 2. Harms Gophers able to put away another kill, and Minnesota has been in control in this first set.
Yeah, she hits such serious angles. There we see a nice tight cross-court shot. It lands about 12 foot from the net. So it's sharp and it comes at you so quickly because she's got such great wrist snap on the ball when she attacks.
So is stuffed. Another huge block between Dixon and Dolly Santana.
And Minnesota needs to do exactly what they're doing, is engage the crowd into this. They're getting into those big blocks that they're seeing. They love to cheer the Gophers on.
There's the question we pose to you. Let us know your favorite moment of the 2012 Big Ten Women's Volleyball season. Twitter.com/BTN Volleyball or the hashtag B1G Volleyball. Again, they'll come throughout the evening on the bottom of your screen. It's a 6-point deficit for the Huskers as they'll send Gina Mancuso back to serve. Mancuso 6th in the Big Ten in service aces this year. But the Huskers overall 9th in the conference, so not as strong from service aces, and she puts one into the net on the air.
Yeah, and I think errors on the service line are really mental. You know, there's no variables there. It's you, the ball, and the line, and you've got to be able to serve tough consistently if you want to be a good team.
That is what Minnesota has done, and especially with Catherine Harms. She's gotten so much better as she comes up with the ace since she introduced that jump serve and has been lethal.
Yeah, and what I like about Minnesota's serving game is you see a variety of different types of serves that come over the net. Here you see the jump top spin. You'll see a nice jump floater from Dixon. Santana's got a really good one too. So they keep teams off balance in the passing game because of the wicked serves that come over the net.
Taverson in setting for the Gophers. A little bit more physical at the net. Free ball opportunity. Dixon on the tip, able to put it away.
Well, Minnesota took an easy ball that came over the net, and they're in system. I like that they're setting transition middle. You're going to see how they set the slide there to Dixon. Taverson is in, and that runs very smoothly, looking very crisp right now.
Harms still serving. You saw the number. She's 10th in the Big Ten in service aces, but in Big Ten play only, she's 3rd, and that is the best of all the Gophers. Flips the net, and it's another ace for Catherine Harms.
And so how do you stop a good server? Well, you've got to call it as soon as the server touches the ball. Someone's got to commit to it. It clipped off the top of the net. You got to try and stay on your feet to play the ball. You don't want to be on your knees in serve receive.
A 9-1 run for the Golden Gophers, and they're up 18-8 in set 1, looking to take this lead to start off this match against Nebraska. We look around the conference. We talked about the postseason coming up for Big Ten teams. Certainly 7 look like they're already going to be in the mix. That's not a definite, but it appears that way. And the top team in the Big Ten Conference, the Penn State Nittany Lions, look to be on their way to their 15th Big Ten title. Audrey, when you look at Penn State's chances in the tournament, what will be key for them?
Well, I do think they'll go far. They've improved as the season has gone on. Hancock, how good of decisions will she make offensively? And will she sharpen up that jump top spin serve of hers? It's deadly when it's on. Will she keep teams off balance because of that wicked jump serve that she has? But I really think offensively she's got to be smart and make good decisions. If she does, Penn State will go far.
You see the record 15-1, the only loss coming to Nebraska on October 28th in Lincoln in 5 sets. Nebraska in second place, Minnesota in a tie for third with Ohio State. But Penn State with a win tonight and a Nebraska loss would clinch the Big Ten title after losing it last year. However, if Nebraska wins, Penn State needs to win both matches this weekend against Indiana and Purdue to be able to claim the Big Ten title. 4 matches left. It looks like it's going to happen and Penn State's going to be able to take it. However, you do have to say that you're impressed with what both of these teams have done, even though they won't win a Big Ten title.
Well, for sure. I think Nebraska has had a great season. Minnesota as well. The girls have played very well, and I've seen improvements in both of these teams as the season has progressed. Lots of good freshman play on both sides of the net, and we'll mention the freshmen here shortly.
Really, Tramer out of play, and this is not the set that Nebraska wanted to start another road trip. As we mentioned, they had difficulties on the road in the state of Michigan, and they're behind in the first set. A 10-1 run for the Gophers, and this run by Harms at the service line continues.
Right, and you're going to see Tramer leave the court. A new middle is entering the court. You know, Cook is looking for some sort of chemistry change there in the front court.
And Cuso, the overpass. Everson goes to Santana, and the tip goes down for Minnesota. They can do no wrong in this first set.
Well, Nebraska has had slow starts, and I know that that drives the coaching staff crazy. Take a look at this just roll shot, nicely placed right over top of the block. Lauren Cook for Nebraska was playing a deep line shot, which Santana likes to hit.
Allison McNeil is stopped in Minnesota with their third block of the set.
Now 21-8, you never really expected that from Nebraska. They really need to shake this one off. It seems to just not be their set. Obviously, they need to change a lot of what they're doing out on the court.
I said it before, they've made some changes, bringing in Allison McNeil as well as Alexa Strange, the freshman on the right side. Brooke Heiss is out alongside Tramer. And the run will finally come to an end as Nebraska desperately gets that point. And it's 21-9. See Alexa Strange. She has subbed in throughout this season and seen more playing time as of late. And Coach Cook had said that she's kind of a wild card for this team. They don't know exactly what to expect with the freshman coming in, but she's made some good contributions. And Santana goes off the block of Megan Haggerty.
Well, Taylor Santana, she is so impressive. She has got such a high IQ. We already mentioned she's just 17 years old, learning English. It's her second language. So many changes for her this year, but she has embraced all those challenges and has really shined here for Minnesota.
And especially from her serve. She's 7th in the nation. We'll see what she can do. Dykstra receives it for Nebraska. And Hannah Worth looking for the touch call. She doesn't get it, and she's going to argue it. She can't believe it.
Let's take a look at it again. We'll see if we can. It does look like she got the finger of Mia Taberson. Yeah, but you got to go with the ref's call. I mean, I've never seen a ref change his call.
Just out of play from Dolly Santana. Fans want another ace. Minnesota nonetheless 2 points away from taking this first set. It'll be Alexa Strange back to serve for the Huskers. I mentioned a true freshman out of San Clemente, California. Played in 19 matches this year as Whitman goes cross court. Worth has to keep that outside the antenna. She does. Nebraska keeps it in play. What an effort by Hannah Worth. And then Cuso, but in the end, it's put down by Tori Dixon.
Well, a great effort by Hannah Worth. She manages to get that ball inside the antenna for her team to play back over, but it was all Dixon to terminate.
Back row for Strange and tapped down by Tramer as it came off the block. Excuse me, Megan Haggerty. Still set point, though, for the Gophers. Maybe Cecilia Paul, who will check in. Paul out of Sweden. This is just her 6th match of the season, but John Cook just trying to mix things up as Nebraska is falling behind in this first set and about to fall behind in the match if they cannot put together a historic comeback. And Mancuso able to get the tip down the line.
Well, let's talk about Nebraska. Their hitting percentage is so low, .042, so that's incredibly low for Nebraska. And we have seen this from them before against Penn State. They had a horrible first set, but managed to come back nicely and win at home.
Dana Knutson ends the first set. Minnesota wins it 25-12. The Gophers trying to make a statement against Nebraska after losing 2 matches last weekend. Here at home, they take the first set 25-12 over Nebraska.
Minnesota's coach, Hugh McCutcheon, was saying 1 point at a time, do not lose focus. And I think John Cook was just ripping his team. He is unbelievably upset at the way they performed in the first set.
And Gina Mancuso finds the back corner, a good start for the Huskers.
You know, sometimes you want to thump the ball down. Mancuso there showing that a deep hit to the corner will work just as well. It all adds up the same way. Just put the ball on the floor, doesn't matter where, but the hard shots that go, you know, down, thunderous hits are so impressive, but they go into the blocker's arms as well.
Nebraska block, and that was a huge stuff.
And that's exactly what I'm talking about. She hit the ball right into the belly of the block. She was going for that hard cross-court shot, and Nebraska's block sealed cross-court and beat her on that one. So sometimes you got to just go high for the hands, not for that thunderous attack that hits the floor.
Thunderous swing from Dolly Santana, but it's out of play, no touch, so the point to Nebraska. Good start and rebound for the Huskers in the second set. It's back to Harms, and she's stuffed again, Tramer and Mancuso.
And this is what happens when you have one player that gets a lot of sets. The block focuses on them, and it makes the job easier for the defense.
Nebraska jumping out early with a 4-0 start. A couple of blocks in there. And Gina Mancuso kill gives the Cornhuskers this early lead with Cook serving. Tori Dixon, though, able to get the first point for the Gophers.
And Hugh McCutcheon does damage control by calling a timeout and leading his setter, guiding her where to set the ball. Set middle, get some pressure off Harms. Dixon is so good tonight. Give her the ball, both on serve, receive, and transition. Dixon can hold her own up there.
Out of play, so no run this time by Catherine Harms. She had a couple of aces and served a number of points in the first set. It gives up that one on the service error. And
you can see that she was tentative. Her toss wasn't perfect. She didn't explode into that serve, and that's why the error.
Hugh McCutcheon had said that his team was tentative serving in the match against Michigan. That's why they didn't have a single service ace. And typically they're around 5 or 6 per match. A double touch will be called on Morgan Brookheist. That's a bit of a surprise because she does set when Lauren Cook will rotate off the floor, or they'll sub her out. Sometime Morgan Brookheist will set for this Husker team.
Yeah, she generally has really good hands, and it's just these silly errors that Nebraska is having. You know, they've come out better here in the second set, but it's errors like that that drive Cook and other coaches absolutely crazy. You just want to play flawless volleyball.
Service error for Dolly Santana, and we talk about those aces versus errors, and Dolly Santana had 5 service errors against Michigan State last week, and she has had service aces in all but 5 matches this season. 2 of those 5 matches were last weekend when she didn't record a single one. Now, aces don't tell the whole story, but still, Santana not as strong as she had been earlier in the year as Haggerty takes advantage of an overpass.
Well, Nebraska right now really picking on Lindsay Lawmaster, the libero for Minnesota. Going to challenge her on serve receive and see if she can pass the ball.
And Dixon off the slide gets the kill.
Well, an impressive set by Palmer. She was clear in the left front area of Minnesota's court and puts up a nicely placed slide set. Dixon times it well, and it's a nice point for Minnesota.
David Dixon looking on at his daughter, now serving for Minnesota. Dixon played 12 seasons in the NFL. A lot of athleticism in the Dixon family. Jump over by Cook for the kill.
You know, I feel like that type of an attack, for that to score, it is impressive. She is crafty, but it is unexcusable for the defense for Minnesota. They're in base position up in that left front area of the court. You cannot be moving back on your defensive position until the setter has released the ball.
Ashley Whitman is stuffed. Cook over there with Haggerty.
Oh, this is a completely different Nebraska team, really dominating at the net. serving well, keeping that offense one-dimensional for Minnesota. Boy, there's the freshman phenom for Nebraska.
Issue receiving there by Lawmaster. Sets up an opportunity for the Huskers to the freshman Haggerty. And it's out of play, so the point to Nebraska. And the timeout will be called by Hugh McCutcheon as his team has fallen behind. It's a 10-3 lead in the second set for Nebraska. Minnesota took set one 25-12, so a huge turnaround, and I think a lot of it has come on those blocks as we talked about, Audrey. Nebraska looks like a different team at the net than in the first set.
Well, they certainly do. I think they're also putting a lot of pressure on the passing game for Minnesota. Minnesota's passers have not risen to the challenge. They need to pass the ball closer to that setter's box so that Palmer can do something with the ball.
Coming up this week on BTN.com, don't miss any exciting action as you check out our upcoming volleyball schedule. Go to video.btn.com for more information. As you can see some of the matchups, Penn State at Purdue. That's tomorrow night. That should be a great one as the Nittany Lions on the road for the last time during the regular season. And then Sunday, these Cornhuskers travel to Madison, Wisconsin. So matches that you can see on video.btn.com. This is the final regular season broadcast for BTN overall. The two of us getting a chance to see Minnesota and Nebraska as these teams get ready for the final 2 weeks of the regular season. We talk about how important this match is, as we did at the beginning, about how important the seeding is for both of these teams, Audrey. You want to get a top 16 seed in the NCAA tournament so you can host the first two rounds. And they know right now Minnesota is right on the bubble. They're close. They have a better RPI than their overall ranking. And Nebraska as well. They know how crucial these matches are to be able to get that one seed in the top 16.
Right, and speaking on behalf of Nebraska, they play so much better at home. There's nothing like that Nebraska crowd. I tell you, they play with emotion and intensity, and you know, we really haven't seen that type of emotion out of Nebraska here, even though they're ahead in the second set. Seeing Nebraska play at home is incredibly exciting.
Dana Knutson able to put that one down. And Knutson has really come on as of late. In her past 8 matches, 2.1 kills per set and hitting .428.
Yeah, when we talk to McCutcheon, he talks about putting a little bit of a wrinkle into his offense. I think Knutson is a huge part of that wrinkle. She needs to take big swings on the ball and demand more sets.
Miscommunication, but the Gophers able to keep it in play. Almost went down as a block for Knutson. But eventually it ends for Nebraska as Lawmaster couldn't get to it. It's an 11-4 lead in the second set.
Yeah, Lawmaster just needs to get her hands on the ball and keep it on her side of the net. You just want to play the ball high to the middle of the court, slow down the play a little bit, and let your setter get a touch on the ball.
Knutson again.
Yeah, she's been so good. A huge improvement from what I've seen in the beginning of the season. A senior transfer from Santa Clara. Watch her foot speed here. What is she doing when the ball is in the air? She's motoring. She's getting to that pin to swing hard on the ball.
Another point for the Huskers. 12-5 lead. As we talked about the impact of Megan Haggerty, a true freshman for this Nebraska team. 3-time Big Ten Freshman of the Week, including this week. Looks to be on her way to a Big Ten Freshman of the Year award. There's another freshman, Dolly Santana from Minnesota, as she tools the block.
Yeah, Santana, that international experience that she has served her well. I think her serving game, as we already mentioned, is really strong, but she's able to take balls and do something with them. That time, the shot off the hands.
Gina Mancuso gets the kill. A double touch will be called against Minnesota as Palmer just tried to get in the way of that ball. It's a 13-6 lead as Mancuso hitting for a higher percentage here in the second set than in the first when she hit a negative number. And the ace for Lauren Cook on a receiving error by Minnesota.
You know, teams don't want to give other teams easy points, quick points. You want to make your opponent work for points. So on serve receive, just don't get aced. Even if you can't put up a perfect pass, don't get aced. Your setter will track down the ball and put up something hittable.
High free ball sent over by Mancuso. And Catherine Harms puts it into the floor.
Well, that high free ball sent over by Mancuso was strategic. Oftentimes when the ball comes really high, it's hard to handle. Take a look at that nicely delivered low set to Harms. The block was not formed by Nebraska. Little hole that Harms rips.
Miscommunication by the Gophers. For the Huskers, the tip down for Gina Mancuso.
Well, Mancuso, great vision. As she's up in the air, she sees where Minnesota's defense is. She works in a nice tip, disguises it well, and it scores nicely for her team.
Pass off the serve of Mancuso and another point for the Huskers.
Well, it'll be interesting to see if Minnesota rotates their serve-receive pattern in such a way where Lawmaster is not in it anymore. She's getting picked on so much. We'll see if they pull someone else in that serve-receive pattern to take balls.
Huskers go after her again. Palmer to Santana and the side out for Minnesota.
Well, Santana saves the day. Nebraska's block was clearly set up on her. You see Lawmaster trying to just focus on other people's positive plays and not focus so much on her bad plays in serve receive.
Hannah Worth able to go off the block. And you talked about emotion before, not seeing a lot of it from the Huskers. They always get emotion from Hannah Worth.
They do. Look at her there. She's laughing. She is a great leader. She's one-on-one and manages to score in that cross-court shot.
Tori Dixon goes off the block of Nebraska. The point to the Gophers.
This is where that ball control is so important. You're seeing it for Minnesota when they're able to get the ball in Palmer's hands. She can set various people. Dixon is outstanding. The other middle, Knudsen, is outstanding. But can the pass get there so that Minnesota can set their middles?
Saw the numbers just a moment ago for Tori Dixon. 7 kills, hitting .875. A number that already had her 5th in the nation. She was hitting, coming into this match, .437. That's climbing at the moment, but still plenty of play left to go in this one.
Yeah, that's scary good. If she can maintain those numbers, that's not even human. I don't know what you call that. That's amazing.
With the emphatic swing and kill.
Such sloppy play back and forth, but Worth just takes it upon herself to end the miserable rally that we saw with a great kill there. Hard shot right in the middle of the court.
Service error coming from Brookheis. Some numbers on Hannah Worth with 3 kills. We talked about the ankle sprain that she had 2 weeks ago against Michigan. It kept her out against Michigan State, but then she came back and played the last 2 matches. John Cook said that because she is a trained athlete who works on it all year long, that's why she's able to get back out there even with the injury. Most of us would still be on crutches, according to Cook.
Yeah, to be young and fit, huh?
The bump set from Cook goes to Hannah Worth, but she puts it into the net.
You know, we are seeing a lot of balls hitting the top of the tape. You wonder if at this point of the season a little bit of fatigue is setting in, players not jumping quite as high. You know, coaches really manage the number of swings that these players take in practice. I know John Cook actually tallies them up. He doesn't want his kids getting burnt out too soon in the season.
It's out of play, no touch. Nebraska wanted the touch call, but they don't get it. It's a 19-12 lead. We'll take one more look at it. Look close whether or not Whitman got a fingertip on it. But Nebraska gives up that point. It's a 19-12 lead for the Huskers in the second set as they try to even up the match at 1 set apiece. Nebraska with a 19-12 lead in the second set over Minnesota. The Cornhuskers coming into this one at 12-4 in the Big Ten Conference, while Minnesota 11-5. Both of these teams have not had a great start to the second half of the season. There's 4 matches left to go, but 3 losses for the Cornhuskers, 1 of them at home, 2 on the road, and then Minnesota losing to Penn State as well as those 2 matches on the road to Michigan and Michigan State. So the second half of the year, as you talked about, fatigue could be playing into it for these teams.
Right, and we're seeing some sloppy plays back and forth, and I know that just drives coaches crazy. So as the match goes on, we're going to keep track of the number of free balls and down balls that each team is going to be sending over the net.
And Whitman able to terminate for the Gophers.
Well, I've always liked watching Whitman as the ball is in the air. She gets herself outside the court, and then she's got an unorthodox arm swing. Her elbow's a little bit low, and it's hidden, and then she comes through very quick on that attack at the high point of her attack.
And a quick attack from Hannah Worth on the other side of the net, as it's 20-13. The Cornhuskers 5 points away. Hannah Worth, a senior for this Nebraska team, will head back to the Coliseum to play possibly her last regular season matches next week, but possibly her last matches overall if Nebraska cannot host at the Coliseum. As we said, they need to be one of the top 16 seeds or they will not play 2 matches at the Coliseum in the Coliseum's final year. And at the net, Santana just tries to tip that one over. Harms goes through the block, no touch, the point to Nebraska. And as we talk about the Coliseum coming up after the match tonight, we will feature that will give you an idea of what the Coliseum has meant to the Nebraska Cornhuskers and how they were trying to send it out on the right note this season. As that's following this match, we have a bit of a moment to honor the NU Coliseum. Back set to Tramer. And finally, the rally ends with the Gophers unable to put it back over the net.
Well, it's been a very interesting 2 sets. We're seeing, in the first set, we saw bad play by Nebraska. In the second set, Minnesota's passing game has not allowed them to get into any sort of a rhythm on that side-out offense of theirs.
And the whistle on the double touch call against Minnesota, and that's a chance where they're just trying to send the ball over and they get called for the double touch.
Yeah, and this type of play I'm used to seeing at the beginning of the season. At the end of the Big Ten season, usually we see very crisp plays, so lots of unforced errors and very strained volleyball that we're seeing so far tonight.
And especially from 2 of the best teams in the Big Ten Conference. Free ball for the Huskers. And Lauren Cook, she eventually does get the kill.
Well, Lauren Cook takes it upon herself to end the rally. Too many free balls coming over the net. Nebraska will make you pay. They took a perfect pass up to Lauren. Lauren takes the ball, puts it right in the open court for Minnesota.
And Cook will take a seat on the bench behind her father. Set point for Nebraska. Dolly Santana with a thunderous swing.
Yeah, forceful attack there. You heard her grunt as she was hitting that one. She's not ready for this one to be over, or at least she's going to put up a fight here to show that she's in it to win it.
McCutcheon has said that if she's serving and passing well, that's really what they asked for. But tonight, she's bringing the offense with the 7 kills. But that is going to do it for set number 2 as we head to the intermission. Nebraska wins it 25-15. Tied at 1 set apiece after 2 dominant sets by both teams.
You know, both teams need to take care of the ball, and I feel like both teams need to play with a little bit more passion. And the team that does, I think, will win tonight.
Was that the message from both coaching staffs in the locker room at intermission? You were dominated in one set, and then you were dominant in the other. How did they really talk to their teams about that?
Yeah, I think it is about just being a little bit more emotionally in tune to what's going on, and I think that all comes from the serve pass game, and teams really build on how well they're serving and how well they're passing. So both of those 2 aspects need to be better, and I'm sure that was the message that both of the coaches had for their teams.
We talked about at the beginning of this broadcast how important this matchup was for these two teams trying to get a top 16 seed in the NCAA tournament so they can host the first two rounds. It's a huge difference. We know how important it is in the Big Ten to be playing at home and how much better these teams are at home. As you said, Nebraska plays better at the Coliseum, Minnesota better here at the Sports Pavilion, but throughout the Big Ten Conference, when you host, you know that you have a chance to make it to the Sweet 16 because your two matches are on your home floor.
Yeah, and there's nothing like playing in front of a home crowd in the Big Ten. The fans are passionate, they're well educated, and they really do a good job of cheering on their team.
And the first kill for Catherine Harms in the third set to start things off for Minnesota. And the Gophers have made a change. Morgan Bowl comes in as the libero for this Minnesota team, replacing Lindsay Lawmaster. This is her first match of the season and her first time playing the libero role.
Well, you got to take a risk when your libero is not playing well. You've got to do something, and the change has been made. So Bowl gets the shirt, and she is serving there on the end line. We'll keep track of how she does.
Morgan Bowl, a sophomore out of Centennial, Colorado. It's November, but her first match of the year. Gina Mancuso goes off the Gopher block. So Lindsay Lawmaster has changed the jersey in case she comes back in. She can still be a defensive specialist. Hugh McCutcheon making the switch. Lawmaster has been the libero throughout this entire season, beating out another freshman in Callista White. And now the job, at least in this match, has moved to Morgan Bowl. And the block for the Huskers goes down. They continue to reverse the trend. They were behind in the first set of the block, and now they're leading by 2 team blocks over Minnesota.
Look at how big that block is. It is literally a wall in front of the outside hitter. Huge block to hit around. The only way you can do it is if your setter sets you off the net, and a speed set to the outside, a shoot set that's going to allow you to swing through the seam of the block. But when it's formed and it's that big, I don't think you have a chance.
Another receiving issue for Hugh McCutcheon's team, and they went after Morgan Bowl. No surprise, when a player's not been in there the entire season, why not serve on it?
Oh, yeah, you're going to go for it. And I'm kind of surprised that they don't try passing with 2, maybe having someone else take a smaller area of the court, giving Bowl a smaller area to pass and pass with 2 other players. So we'll see if these adjustments are made. We'll keep track of it for you.
Harms back serving again for the Gophers. She had 2 aces in the first set. Wolf tools the block of the Gophers for the point.
You know, she comes in and she looks like she's hitting cross court. What she does remarkably well is she's in the air. Let's take a look at it. She's facing cross court. As she's in the air, she turns her shoulders and wipes it off the block.
Santana on the other side for the Gophers, able to tool the block, and we're tied at 4. Are you surprised that in the move made by Hugh McCutcheon to bring in a new libero, that he didn't go with a defensive specialist who's played a little bit more this season than Bowl, who hasn't played at all?
Well, it is a little shocking to me, actually, when we saw Bowl out there, because we have not seen her. It is a gutsy move, and he has seen Bowl in practice, and so I'm sure he feels confident in that move and thinks that she can play. You've got to give players an opportunity and see what they do. I hope for her sake she rises to the occasion and plays well for the Gophers.
Also see Mia Taberson back in there setting for the Gophers. She subs in and out throughout the season, giving them a bigger block. So that does not look like it will be a change at the setter position between her and Palmer, just the typical substitution between the two of them. Goes to Morgan Brookheis. Back to Brookheis, into the block off the Gophers, and the point to Nebraska.
And Lauren Cook, again, we've mentioned how she can set that ball to the right pin no matter where she is on the court. She was literally at 15 feet toward the left side area of the court and manages to put up the ball right to that right pin.
Palmer back in, goes to Whitman, but that goes into the tape and stays on Minnesota's side.
Now that's got to be frustrating for Minnesota. They got a free ball from Nebraska, and in free ball you are in system, and usually teams score. So Whitman, disappointing shot there from her.
Just over the net off the serve from Brookheis. Minnesota lucky to keep it in play. System off the tape by Whitman. This time it's on Nebraska's side of the net. Worth with the swing and the kill.
Well, it looks like Worth has some fresh legs out there. I can't say that for all the hitters. They're hitting low, hitting the top of the tape. Worth goes up and pounds the ball. She's so physically fit. Look at how high she gets over top of the block. An impressive shot there by Hannah Worth.
Fresh legs, but she does not have a fresh ankle. Sprained that ankle, and yet she's still playing at a higher level than some of the other players. She could not block Tori Dixon, though, and Dixon continues her stellar night.
Well, Worth is outmatched there physically. Dixon, such a taller player at 6'3", elevates and reaches so high. And if Dixon is one-on-one with Worth, she has all kinds of angles to hit around.
Dixon, a member of the All-Big Ten team last year, All-America honorable mention. Likely going to be on a couple of those teams as well this year. And Lauren Cook for her third kill of the match. She did this to Minnesota last time as well when she had a career-high 8 kills in their first meeting on October 14th.
Right, when a setter is front row, the left side hitter, and that is Dolly Santana, needs to be on the setter. That becomes her hitter. So when a setter goes up to attack, the left side blocker needs to respect that setter because she is a potential hitter.
Palmer will head back to serve. Mentioned she transferred from Santa Clara. She will have another year. This is the final homestand for the seniors for the Gophers. They will be honored tomorrow night after the match against Iowa. Haggerty on the slide, comes back over, and Whitman could not keep that one in play, so the point to Nebraska. Able to go through the block for the point for the Gophers.
So the ball was set low to the pin. Whitman's speed on her approach helps her. And then the other thing that was good about that play for Minnesota is the ball was set over top of Lauren Cook, so Whitman can turn and swing down the line.
Whitman will serve, and service air from Whitman, it's a surprising difference between last year and this year for Ashley Whitman because she had such a tremendous jump serve. She hasn't been able to unleash it as often this season.
Yeah, it's a mental breakdown right now for her from the service line. That ball that gets served to the middle of the net is really unacceptable.
Overpass coming for Nebraska. Mancuso with another chance. This time she puts it off the block and down. We mentioned after the match tonight, a farewell to the NU Coliseum, a feature that we have following the conclusion of this match as we say goodbye to the NU Coliseum for the final season that the Huskers are playing there. The only home they've ever known. Next year they'll go to the Bob Devaney Center. Get a few more fans in to see Nebraska volleyball. And Dolly Santana catches the back line, just barely.
And each team needs what we're seeing Santana do right there. A little spark, a strong hit to turn things around. Emotionally, both teams are looking to get a string of points to get momentum built on their side of the net.
And Brookheis goes off Palmer as Palmer cannot dig that one out down the line.
Well, in that rotation, Brookheis is in the left front area of the court, so she'll swing from the left side, and Mancuso is in the right area of the court, so she'll swing on the right side. It's a strong serve-receive pattern for them, and it looks a little different than what teams are used to seeing, obviously, from the offensive standpoint.
Palmer goes to Dixon, but the double touch is called against Palmer. And you saw the pass that time came from Morgan Ball, and it was a tough one for Palmer to get to. So Nebraska with a 13-9 lead in set number 3. The Gophers need to find an answer when we come back. Minnesota trails it in set 3 to Nebraska, but Dolly Santana stepped up for the Gophers as she leads the team with 8 kills.
Yeah, you know, she is the L2 for Minnesota, and so Hugh McCutcheon expects her to hit right at about 20%. Right now she's hitting 24%, 9 kills, doing a really good job keeping her team in this one. Emotionally, she's the only player out there that's really getting excited after her team scores points. So a little bit more of that needs to be contagious, and hopefully it'll spread to the team and they'll build on that positive attitude that she's displaying.
They need that to spread to the rest of the team, because after set 1, Minnesota has not looked the same. As they're behind by 4 here in set 3. Palmer goes back to Santana. The Huskers were ready for it with the block.
Yeah, this set really trapped Santana on that play. It was low, tight, and inside. We call that the kiss of death type of set. Take a look at this. It's going to die before she can get her hands on it. We talk about the hitter hitting at the high point of their attack. That time Santana, her elbow was bent. She definitely didn't hit at the height of her approach.
Catherine Harms able to get one back for the Gophers, and you see Dolly Santana jumping around, trying to get her teammates into it.
Yeah, she's excited. She's, trying to make the best out of a not-so-great situation. And right now for Palmer, the passes are too tight. Minnesota's passing game is really off, trapping Alexandra Palmer at the net.
Aberson is in. Tip from Tori Dixon. This time there between the two of them, but it results in a point.
And again, we see Santana getting all excited, not for her good play, but for her teammates' good play. And that is the sign of a mature player, a quality player that understands emotionally somebody needs to be a leader out there. I'm a freshman, but I'll take care of it.
McCutcheon has said that she plays so much older than 17. She's acting like she's older than 17 as well. Dives for that one, and the Gophers cannot keep it alive. The point to Nebraska.
And give Nebraska credit. They've really played much more consistently in the second and third set. So after having a horrible display in the first, they've been able to rebound here in this match.
Santana puts a good swing on it, but it comes off the block. Palmer with the back set to Dixon. And again, Dixon's trying to adjust mid-air. It's out of play.
You can see how the timing and the rhythm is off. This volleyball game is a game of rhythm. Passing to the setter, a game of rhythm. Setter to the hitter, a game of rhythm. And that, when things aren't going well, it's because the tempo is off, and you can see it looks really bad.
And again, continuing to miss, as we talked about Tori Dixon's numbers being so high, but coming down now on a couple of errors. Not all her fault, but it's a 17-11 lead for Nebraska in the third set. Another timeout for Hugh McCutcheon and his staff. This Minnesota team, as of late, they've lost 3 of their last 4 matches, lost on the road to Penn State, then the 2 matches against Michigan and Michigan State. And they seem to be not playing their best volleyball. And Hugh McCutcheon had even said that they got roughed up a little bit. And that's something that's inevitable in the Big Ten Conference. With so many quality teams, that is going to happen throughout the year. But he wants to see them compete better. And they did in the first set, but they're not here in set 2 and 3.
Right. And I think we mentioned this earlier, how does the coaching staff manage the loss? And usually you can watch film and point out where specifically the game was lost. For Hugh McCutcheon, he sees, as you said, that they did not compete well. And so for a good team to improve and be a great team, they've got to learn from that loss. They are not doing that right now. They are not competing. So the losses that they had to Michigan and Michigan State will all be in vain if this team doesn't just dig in and compete.
You see the upcoming schedule for the Golden Gophers. They have Iowa tomorrow, then at Wisconsin and at Indiana. So not too challenging down the stretch. Those teams are quality, but not as good as the rest of the Big Ten Conference. You have 2 of the teams that are at the bottom of the standing, and Wisconsin not too much higher than Iowa or Indiana. So Minnesota will have an opportunity to gain some momentum over the last 3 matches of the regular season, and especially if they can come back here and in this third set or force 5 sets overall in this match.
Yeah, we look there at Ashley Whitman. We mentioned that she hasn't been able to practice because she had a minor injury to her wrist, and that may be a reason why she's a little bit off of her game tonight, too.
Tori Dixon, this time right in the middle. Dixon out of the timeout with a kill.
So Dixon has the potential to hit it back quick, which was what we just saw, a set that goes right behind the setter, and also that slide that goes all the way to the pin. And that's what makes her difficult to block. You never quite know if she's taking it back quick or a slide.
Santana making it tough for Nebraska as they send over the free ball. It's Whitman who goes cross court.
Whitman looks great on this one. You're going to see that she's got one blocker in front of her. One-on-one, she rips it. Nebraska's block went with Dixon, which left one blocker in front of Whitman.
Hannah Worth again with a big swing. She puts it down. Morgan Brookheis will head back to serve as the Huskers are 7 points away from taking a 2-1 lead. Gophers wanted too many touches called against Nebraska, but the rally continues. And Hannah Worth able to go off the block. So that point goes to the Huskers, and Minnesota not happy with the call.
And John Cook comes off the bench and is celebrating his team's effort. Take a look at this one here. There's a nice kill there down the line, and you see Nebraska celebrating, and as I mentioned, Cook was celebrating as well.
On a second chance terminates.
Now that's an impressive kill to me. She had a big block in front of her, and she went, look at how deep she is on the approach, but she went hard right there, right in the seam of the block, and that's a nice kill for her.
Dixon back serving again for the Gophers with a 5-point deficit in the third set. Cook with the back set to Haggerty, and Haggerty tools the block.
Haggerty is such a stellar freshman, comes out of that sports performance program in Chicago, Illinois. Really strong slide attacker, always has been. It's kind of like she's just been gifted in that area. Accelerates well, swings well, gets her feet to the ball, and always has that ball over her right shoulder.
Dana Knudsen able to get the answer from Minnesota.
Now when Knudsen is in the front court with Whitman, she needs to take on a lot of the responsibility offensively to loosen things up for Whitman.
5 kills from Knudsen. Palmer serving for the Gophers. Cook, the set goes to Haggerty, but the block was there for the Gophers.
Nice disciplined block by Minnesota. You see Whitman stepping in. Watch her defensive positioning here, lined up perfectly, reaching up and over. Nicely done.
Timeout now by Nebraska as it's a 4-point third set, 20-16 lead for the Huskers. We take a look at the scores from around the conference, and an important score to note as Penn State went to Indiana and beat the Hoosiers in straight sets. That clinches at the very least a share of the Big Ten title for the Penn State Nittany Lions, their 15th Big Ten title. So congratulations to them, but they want to clinch the outright Big Ten title, and they can do that with a win against Purdue tomorrow night, or if Nebraska were to fall in this match.
Right, and beating Purdue on their home court is a challenge for Penn State. Purdue is playing very well. So Penn State really has momentum, but playing on the road is never easy. Never
easy, but they're also playing at Mackey Arena as they try to get over 10,000 fans in to watch that match between Purdue and Penn State tomorrow night. We look at those standings, Nebraska and Minnesota in second and third. BTN goes where you want, when you want it, with BTN to go, presented by Auto Owners Insurance. Watch live volleyball and BTN original programming on your computer, smartphone, or tablet. BTN to go is available at no extra charge to subscribers who receive BTN through their cable, satellite, or participating video providers. To learn more, visit btntogo.com. It's available in the App Store and on Google Play. Minnesota came back from a deficit in set 2 against Nebraska in Lincoln. As they had a large deficit to face, they came all the way back, but they still lost that second set. It was a 27-25 win for the Huskers. So they can come back, and they know they can against this Nebraska team. But right now, they're facing the 4-point deficit with the Huskers 5 points from taking a 2-1 lead. Mancuso out of the break with an attack air and the point to Minnesota.
Yeah, you talk about inching your way back into it. You just have to take it 1 point at a time. They got that point now. Let's reset our focus. Let's get to 18. And every ball is important, and you play it with passion and excitement.
Lauren Cook goes back to Mancuso, and this time she puts it into the block. The point for the Huskers. Into the block came down on Minnesota's side. Now Haggerty back to serve for the Huskers. See, this time Catherine Harms able to be in the middle and convert for the point.
Well, when you pass a good ball, you can move hitters around. You're going to see a 2-ball set in the middle of the court. Nebraska hasn't seen Harms do that very often. The block clearly was not set, and that's a huge point for Minnesota.
Carly Hauer into the match for the Gophers to serve, a 5'11" freshman out of Andover, Minnesota. So cross court gets the line.
Well, that ball just kissed the line. It could have gone either way, in or out. Nice tempo set. Look at Mancuso dropping her thumb. That ball was in. What a great shot.
10 kills now for Gina Mancuso, coming off a match where she had 20 kills against Purdue in 5 sets last week. She's actually had a season-high 20 kills in 3 of the last 4 matches for the Huskers. So Gina Mancuso is hitting her stride at the right time of the season. Knutson with a powerful swing.
We focus so much on passing. The pass allows this great attack to happen. And she comes from the right side of the court. Lots of movement there. She's a steady player. When she gets her shot, she usually scores for her team.
Haley Tramer able to go off the block for the Huskers. And they're 2 points away from taking this 3rd set.
And those are the type of points that Tramer will get. It's not going to be a straight down shot. She's going to get the ball and slice and dice and find her way to score.
Tori Dixon is stuffed by Haley Tramer.
But we were going to keep track of Morgan Bowl and how well she passes the ball. She's doing a nice job. The ball goes right up to the setter. And that time, Dixon hits right into the block. When there's one block in front of you, you got to hit an angle.
Nebraska fans are on their feet. Those that travel to Minneapolis as it's set point. The overpass. It's too much from Tramer. So Minnesota gets 1 point back.
And the ball was hit wide. Usually overpasses are a clear point for the team that gets the overpass. However, that time a mishit by Tramer for Nebraska.
Hannah Worth is roofed. Gophers with a huge block here in set 3.
Well, let's take a look at this block again. Nice movement, swing blocking at its best right there, and it's nice to see Taverson come in and do her little job, and that job is to block the ball when she rotates to the front court.
That's why Mia Taverson is in the match, rotating in and subbing in for Alexander Palmer. 24-21 lead in the 3rd set, still set point for Nebraska. We continue to look around the conference at the upcoming NCAA tournament and the keys for teams. And now we talk about Ohio State. Audrey, your former team.
Yes.
What is the key for the Buckeyes heading into the postseason?
Well, I think the Buckeyes are really playing so much better here in the tail end of the Big Ten season, but that kid right there, Caitlin Leary, when she plays well, this team looks outstanding. She's been able to get some big numbers, surprisingly huge numbers offensively, and when she does as the L2, this Ohio State team really does shine.
Buckeye head coach Jeff Carlson had said that she was kind of a quiet player that not many people were talking about. They're talking about her now over the play that she had in the second half of the Big Ten season because she's really been consistent and consistently in double-figure kills.
right? You expect Tula to have big games. You expect, the middles to play well. But when she steps up there, Caitlin Leary is just outstanding. And again, the improvement that I've seen from her freshman year to this year has been remarkable.
Third set point now for the Huskers. Catherine Harms will try to keep the Gophers in this third set. Serve from Harms. Cook chases it down. And the set to Dolly Santana gets another point for the Gophers.
Well, that line shot that goes off the blocker's hands is managing to score for her. Take a look at this. It deflects just enough, and it lands in the court. Nebraska's backcourt player there was trying to track it down, could not get there fast enough.
Morgan Brookheist, though, ends the third set as she gets it to the corner. It's a 25-22 win in set 3, and Nebraska is up 2-1 over Minnesota as we go to the fourth in Minneapolis. Nebraska won the fourth set. However, the energy seemed to shift towards Minnesota as they came back from a 6-point deficit, or close to coming back. Didn't come all the way back because they lost that third set. But big reason why, the change at the libero spot. Better passing, better energy. Morgan Bull in at libero in place of Lindsay Lawmaster.
Yeah, it was a risky move by Hugh McCutcheon. We haven't seen her wear the libero shirt ever this season, so it seems to have paid off. Serve receive was so much better, and I'll tell you who else improved the energy on Minnesota's side of the net. It was the freshman Dolly Santana. We saw her time and time again getting excited, not only when she made a play, but when her teammates made a play, and that's huge for a freshman.
Can that energy carry over into the fourth set? As we look at some of the numbers, you see Dolly Santana jumping in to start the fourth set. Between these different sets, what a difference it has been for Nebraska turning around after set number 1. And Minnesota all over the place.
Right, Nebraska pretty consistent other than the first set, but as you mentioned, Minnesota is all over the board with their hitting percentage, and it really did come from poor passing in sets 2. And set 3, you kind of see that they're getting back in rhythm offensively, but they need to just flatten it out and not play, roller coaster type volleyball. They need to play steady and hard.
Well, they say that Minnesota may have the energy, but Nebraska still took that third set, and you saw the impressive hitting numbers, so they're playing considerably better. And right now, they do have the momentum with the 2-1 lead as they try to win in 4 sets for the second consecutive meeting with this Minnesota team. Huskers, they've had their troubles on the road throughout their time in the Big Ten. There are 7 losses in Big Ten Conference play over the past 2 years. 6 of them have come on the road. And Cuso, though, off the touch, gets Nebraska started with the first point of the fourth set.
And that is the rotation. She's in the right area of the court, so she'll swing to the right area. She does a good job, again, of going high off the blocker's hands and manages to force Minnesota's libero to try and make an attempt at the ball.
Morgan Brookheist able to put it down off the bump set. Out of system play, but it's still a point for Nebraska.
Well, and a good job by Nebraska's block to slow down the attack. It was a good block, a good touch on the ball, slows it down, and they're able to transition with Brookheist's attack.
Good up by Dykstra. Again, Dykstra on the coverage for the Huskers. Back set goes to Brookheist. She puts away another.
Well, Dykstra's doing a good job of reading the arm of Minnesota's attackers. As soon as the elbow drops, the libero for Nebraska takes off. She's able to track down the ball, and then they're able to convert with a strong attack from the front row.
Miscommunication by the Gophers as they let it fall to the floor, and it's another 4-0 start for Nebraska in this fourth set.
And Cook mixing up the attack, setting Tramer on transition. That's what Cook does best, disguises where she's going to set the ball. We'll see if she chooses to go to Brookheis on the right side a little bit more often.
Cook serving at Morgan Bowl. And Whitman able to get the good approach on that ball and get the first point of the fourth set for the Gophers.
And Whitman has that big block. Morgan Brookheis in front of her. That's a 6'5" standing Morgan Brookheis. When she jumps to block, she's got a huge jump, so she's really high to hit around.
It'll be Tramer who sets it to Morgan Brookheis, and she's able to get the kill.
Well, Nebraska just playing with a ton of confidence here. There you see Cook running from the backcourt to cheer on her front row players. She gets her feet to the ball set inside, and the block doesn't move with her. As a block, you've got to adjust to the set. So if the ball is set inside, you've got to take some lateral steps to get in front of the ball.
You don't see many assists for middles in the Big Ten Conference. That's the 7th assist, though, of the season for Haley Tramer. The service error gives one back to Minnesota. And John Cook looks on as his team trying to turn things around from a poor set one. They bleed this match 2-1 here in the fourth set. And Hannah Worth, they go back to her once more. Does not seem to be feeling any ill effects from that sprained ankle.
Now, I was keeping an eye on her and warm up to see, if she was going to rotate it or if she was going to baby it a little bit. She's as tough as nails.
Golly, Santana goes cross court and it's in. They're going to say actually that it was long and out of play. The line judge pointed down, but that one was wide.
Now let's take another look at it. She reaches hard cross court. Oh, that one was a tough one to call. The line judge did call it in, but then Santana kind of rolled her eyes like maybe he was wrong.
Again, it's Worth, the block ready for it for the Gophers.
Well, can the Gophers build on this big block? Dixon is front row. She needs to try and get some points, just like she got this one here. Reading the situation, moving her feet quickly, and then reaching over. Low and over is how you have to go if you want to be a successful blocker in the front row.
Stuff for Minnesota.
Minnesota's block coming through here in this fourth set to make this one interesting. They read the situation really well. They're all releasing because Cook has gone to the left front area of the court. They're just waiting on the ball, and Worth not able to hit around that really big block of Minnesota's.
And Hars will have her third ace as the Gophers fell behind 7-2. It's now 7-5. And a timeout for Nebraska. Catherine Harms and her serve getting the Gophers going in the fourth set. It's a 2-point set when we return. Fourth set between Minnesota and Nebraska, but it's BTN Football Report presented by 5 Hour Energy right after us. The Cornhuskers trying to close out the match here in the fourth while Minnesota wants to force set number 5. Remember back to the September 19th, when Nebraska traveled to Penn State, they had an early lead in the fourth set, but could not hang on to it, and Penn State came all the way back and ended the match in 4 sets rather than it going 5. Harms creates another overpass, and it's a 1-point fourth set.
Well, Harms with that tough jump top spin serve of hers is really doing havoc on Nebraska's passing game right now. She's feeling the rhythm of this one, and if she gives herself a good toss, look for this one to be a smoking hit too.
The back set to Harms. And the effort from Mia Taverson keeps the rally going. Haverty with too much, and we're tied in the fourth set.
And sometimes those defensive plays can build such positive momentum. Take a look at Minnesota here, going hard. 2 defensive players on the floor. That's pretty impressive.
5-0 run for the Gophers. We're tied at 7 in the fourth. Harms still serving. Timing up there between Cook and Brookhouse. Santana puts down one more.
And just like that, we've seen this teeter-totter type of match. Minnesota up ahead by 1. Good plays on their side of the net. And Santana full of emotion and energy. Look at that kid go.
Trying to end this run by Minnesota. Tori Dixon though keeps it going. 7-0 run for the Gophers.
Well, it's that slide approach. Look at Dixon. She lands from the block that was on the left side of Minnesota's court. Quick feet gets her behind the setter with a kill.
Gopher fans back into it in the Sports Pavilion as Minnesota has taken the 9-7 lead here in the fourth set. These two teams, Minnesota has played just 3 5-set matches this season. They're trying to get their 4th here against Nebraska, while the Cornhuskers have played 5 sets in 4 of their last 5 matches, going 2-2. So it's been a lot of long affairs for these teams as of late, especially for Nebraska. So we could potentially go to 5 sets unless Nebraska, out of this timeout, can get back on track.
Yeah, and when the coaches look at this match on tape, they're going to notice that, neither team is playing exceptionally well. But can you get a win despite not playing the best volleyball that your team has ever played? And that takes mental toughness. You've got to be able to erase the plays and the sets where you haven't played so great and just build on some positive energy. Minnesota here, if they can keep this momentum going, boy, kudos to them, because they really haven't played all that well here in this 4th set. They're coming back nicely. Nebraska needs to sock it to them. They talked about at the beginning, they need to keep the pressure on their opponents. So they have to serve tough, they need to play tough defense, and they have to have a strong side-out offense in order to take Minnesota on their home court.
That has been a theme for the Cornhuskers on the road throughout this season, is putting the pressure on, as they've not been able to do it in some of the matches as of late. Harms still serving for the Gophers. And the run continues at 10-7, and you see the elation from the Gopher players.
This will be a good test for Nebraska. How mentally tough are they going to be here in this 4th set? Can they get this next point and then build on another point after that one?
Hannah Worth goes off the block and gets in the face of her teammates.
So stringing points together is the key. Whenever you're playing kind of back and forth volleyball, can now Nebraska get on a run? We saw the run by the serve by Catherine Harms. So now it's Nebraska's turn to put pressure on Minnesota's passing game.
And they don't with the service error coming from Morgan Brookhuis. Now to be Dolly Santana's chance. Santana still looking for an ace. She has not had one in her last 3 matches, including this. 48 service aces on the season for Dolly Santana. Worth able to finish that rally, and you see Hugh McCutcheon, he wanted a lift call against Hannah Worth.
Yeah, after the block she landed, and then she just took a swipe at the ball, and that's the play that Hugh McCutcheon is arguing. But Worth, boy, I'm telling you what, that senior experience of hers, she doesn't get the first kill when she swung at the ball. She gets another set. She takes a little bit off it, sees what the defense is giving her, and is able to put the ball right into the hole of the defense.
Paige Hubble checks in to serve and immediately has a service error. That cannot happen if you're the Huskers.
Yeah, those are the string of points that you want to put together. You don't want to go back at the service line and make an error and give the team another point.
That'll be Tori Dixon back to serve, has one of the best ace-to-air ratios from the service line of any player in the Big Ten, with 24 aces and just 8 service errors. And she's blocked, but it's out of play, so the point to Nebraska.
A gutsy set by Lauren Cook, taking a ball that's not only passed to the left front area of the court, but it's pretty low. So she's got to get down low and make a perfect set to Haggerty.
Palmer back in. Knutson as well. Whitman is stuck. Cook and Tramer were there.
Well, you really get the sense that both of these teams are fighting harder than we've seen them fight. They both want to win this set. Cook, undersized, gets the block.
And Whitman is able to finish one off, and we continue to trade points here in the fourth set now.
What a great defensive play to keep the ball alive. The libero for Minnesota puts up a nice 5-5 set. Whitman following through with a nice kill.
Free ball coming for the Gophers. What can they do with it? They go to Hall. He puts it down.
What a big difference the libero for Minnesota has made. I really feel like she has turned things around. The passing game is looking better. Look how crisp that offense looks. Harms taking a nice swing in rhythm. The ball's low set to her.
Gina Mancuso, though, able to respond for the Huskers. As we said in set number 3, that was when the change was made for Minnesota. They took Lindsay Lawmaster out, brought in Morgan Bull, the sophomore, out of Colorado, who has not played the entire season, to be the libero for this Minnesota team, and really changing the energy and passing much better than they were earlier in the match. Mancuso again, and the Huskers go to their senior on the left side.
Yeah, you kind of get this feel of urgency on both sides of the net. For Nebraska, they don't want to pull this one to 5 sets. They don't want to let Minnesota into this match, so they have a sense of urgency. Minnesota playing much better. Again, the urgency for them is to try and force this one to a 5th.
And a net violation is called against the Huskers, so the point to the Gophers. Not help but talk about how important this match is to the seeding in the NCAA tournament. John Cook had said before this week that it's so important because they want to make sure they're at the Coliseum and not sent somewhere else like Kansas State, a place they don't want to play. They lost to Kansas State last year in the second round of the NCAA tournament at home. They especially don't want to face them on the road, so they want to have one of those top 16 seeds, as do the Gophers. And another kill for Mancuso, this time on the right side of the net.
Yeah, you talk about the tournament and how important this match is, but I really feel like you got to play for bragging rights. You want to come out of the Big Ten season with the best possible win-loss record. You want to be able to look at your opponent and say, I beat you either on your court or, you know, you came to our place and we whipped you. So, you know, it's all about bragging rights and passion and playing with big emotion and pride for your program.
Gophers have been playing with that passion and the emotion, but right now just a 2-point lead for them. Big turnaround. They were down 7-2 to start this fourth set, and now up 16-14. Audrey, I get the feeling that you tried to hold those bragging rights over teams during your day?
Well, that's why you play. You know, you train so hard so that you can look your opponent in the eye after the match, shake their hand, and say, good job, but hey, we beat you. I mean, whoa, that's what it's all about, isn't it?
Dykstra back to serve for the Huskers, down by 1 in the fourth. They're up 2-1 in the match. And it's an ace for Dykstra, and there is Bull in her first match of the year, could not receive that ball.
Right, and we'll see if they go right back to her to challenge her a little bit. You want to get into a rookie's head a little bit. Let's see where this serve goes.
The Husker block. We've talked often about the play of Dolly Santana tonight, but really the attack for her coming together. She's made some great plays in that L2 spot.
Well, she certainly has, and it's the other things that she brings to the court. That emotion, that smile when she makes a good play.
Gets the roll shot to fall.
Well, that's an experienced hitter right there. She's just 17, takes the ball that's not set perfectly and manages to slice it into that corner right there in the right back area of the court. Everybody thought she was going cross court. The whole defense shifted cross court. What a nice, experienced attack.
Brookheis able to get the answer on the right side for the Huskers. And there's the experience of the junior Morgan Brookheis for Nebraska.
Yeah, Brookheis is really good when the set is perfect. When the ball is set off the net a little bit, she just sort of taps it over the net with no real force. So she is good when that ball is placed perfectly to the pin.
Overpass caught the Huskers off guard. Again, it's Santana. She's blocked this time. Haggerty was there.
Well, Haggerty showing her that a freshman can play on the other side of the net, too. Take a look at how Haggerty reads the play at swing block. She gets over so well, reaches back to the middle of the court.
Tied at 18 in the fourth set. Freshman Dolly Santana comes right back and gets one more as she is tied a career high with 15 kills.
Now Santana has rotated to the back court, so they no longer have her swinging on the left pin, but they do have her swinging from the service line, and we know that she can be very effective there.
Love to get her first ace of the match right here. She creates the overpass, though. Might as well have been one. And the Gophers 5 points from forcing the fifth set.
John Cook making a substitution. This is also strategic to slow down the game a little bit. He's going to take Brookheis out, put 96 Alexa Strange in there for serve-receive reasons.
Another overpass created. Back to Dixon for another point.
So we talk about how Santana creates great plays. The overpass is like a free ball. Minnesota in system, sets up the strongest hitter there in the front row, Tori Dixon, and it results in a point.
The ace for Santana.
Well, I just love watching what she's doing. Single-handedly, she has turned this match around for her team. And can Minnesota sustain this? We see Cook trying to slow things down again, not wanting to burn a timeout too early. Let's see if Santana can maintain the rhythm that she's had so far from the end line.
She does again. It's an overpass, and the run continues for Dolly Santana. Five straight points off the serve of Santana, and Minnesota 2 points from sending this to the fifth set.
And the ball is going to Dykstra, but you see Cook keeping the substitution going again, an attempt to try and slow down the game and the rhythm of Santana.
That one is long, so the service error, and it comes to an end. But a great run by Dolly Santana, and she's put Minnesota in position to force set 5.
Well, she certainly has, and that's so impressive. And here she is clapping. She's reminding her team, we can get a strong side out. This is what we do well, and let's get to 24.
We talked before about her international experience, played with the Puerto Rican national team. She's one of 7 children in her family, so she's always been able to work well with members of her family and now with her team, and she's continued to fire them up and put them in a position here to be 2 points from taking the fourth set as Hubble is back in for the Huskers. Dixon off the block, and it's set point.
Well, why not set Dixon? She has been unstoppable tonight. Oh, that kid impresses me so much, just a junior.
15 kills for Tori Dixon. As you said, just a junior. She's been around for so long, played right away in her freshman year because of injuries. Really having a tremendous junior campaign in Minneapolis. Megan Haggerty out of play. We're going to the fifth set. 25-19 win for Minnesota in set 4. And once again, we'll play 5 sets. Minnesota and Nebraska in the fifth when we come back. Both of these teams in 5 setters. You see Nebraska 4-2, Minnesota 2-1. Nebraska has played 4 of their last 5 matches. They've all gone to 5 sets. They're 2-2 in those matches, losing 2 matches in the state of Michigan to Michigan State and the Wolverines, and then winning the matches, against Penn State and Purdue. As the Huskers beat the Boilermakers last Saturday night. Last 5-set match for the Gophers was against Ohio State on the road when they came back from a 2-0 deficit. So another 5-set match being played for these teams as we get close to the end of the regular season, but more volleyball to be played. We're underway in a race to 15 points. Harms with the first point for the Gophers.
Well, it seems like Harms has always gotten the first point for the Gophers, but look to Palmer, the setter for Minnesota, to give the ball to Dixon. She has been unstoppable tonight. Now that Harms has rotated to the backcourt, she needs to try to get points with her wicked jump serve.
Too much that time from Dolly Santana, and the point to Nebraska. Cuso, 14 kills, and Worth with 12. They're leading the Huskers. Nebraska taking control in sets 2 and 3. We're up 7-2 in that first set before Minnesota got back into it, so we'll see how this Husker team responds. Arms out of the back row, and another attack air on the Gophers.
All right, well, 15 comes at you so quickly in the 5th set. They switch sides at 8, so you don't want to be the team down when you rotate around to the other side. So Nebraska right now getting some quick points on some errors by Minnesota.
Brookheis will set it to Hannah Worth, and Worth able to terminate.
Well, Worth playing with a purpose tonight. As always, the emotional leader. She takes this set and hammers it. And you can clearly see there how it's right in the seam of the block, over the shorter blocker for Minnesota, which is this setter, Alexandra Palmer.
BTN football report right after volleyball. Free ball coming for the Huskers as they're up 3-1 in the 5th set. Palmer on the back set to Dixon, and no touch. It's a 4-1 start for the Huskers.
And damage control for Minnesota. You want to call that timeout early. Hugh McCutcheon does to try and regroup his gang. And again, the passing game for them has to be crisper.
Mentioned the 5-set records for both of these teams and how Nebraska's played a number of them recently. They lost the 2 on the road. The 2 at home, they won. They beat Purdue at home, they beat Penn State at home, while on the road at Michigan and Michigan State, they lost both of those. But in that match against Michigan State, the Huskers feel like they should have won. They were up 14-11 in the 5th set, but then lost it 17-15. So Nebraska, they've had their strengths and their problems in 5-setters this season.
Yeah, and when you lose one like that, when you win one like that, you can learn a lot. And the key is can you learn when you lose one like that? And so that takes going back, watching film, specifically looking at where the mental breaking point was, because I really think if you're at that point, it's the team that's mentally tough and who executes when the chips are on the line. And so, you have to learn from those wins, but you can also gain some experience from the losses.
Hugh McCutcheon had said that it's about his team showing maturity and executing in big moments. There are no bigger moments than the points that come in the 5th set, so he wants to see them execute better here. We mentioned they've not played too many 5-set matches this season, only 3 5-setters before this one for the Golden Gophers, 2-1 on the year. They beat Ohio State They lost to Kansas State as well, and now trying to get another victory here against Nebraska.
You talk about these tough matches in the conference, and that's why this conference makes teams tournament ready. Big Ten teams have done remarkably well in the tournament, and it's because they're used to playing tough matches every single weekend.
And Tori Dixon out of the timeout off the block. Gophers continue to go to Tori Dixon. She has had a season-high 17 kills. That goes along with a high of 16 at the time that she had against Nebraska in Lincoln, hitting 682. Santana again back to serve. Great effort by Bull to keep that one going. One Cook to Hannah Worth, who goes off the block.
Well, this is what I like to watch. How do players perform when the match is on the line? And right now, Worth is playing with just that gutsiness. She's got mojo. She's taking any ball she gets, and she's just hammering it. There's no roll shots, no tips. I really have a lot of respect for that kid.
And there's the passion from Hannah Worth.
And so she gets a block and a point, and look at her go. This one means a lot to her. This is her senior year. She wants to go out strong. Take a look at her. What a fun kid to watch.
And then a mistake by the Gophers on the double touch. It's 7-2 in the fifth set. But remember, the fourth set, Nebraska had the same lead, and that evaporated into a Minnesota lead. Very different, though, in the fifth. A lot more pressure to put that run kind of together for Minnesota.
Right, and the points are only to 15 in the fifth set, so you don't have a lot of time to come back. I think that's the big difference.
Again, it's Worth. Whitman, though, with the kill for the Gophers.
Well, that's a nice looking kill by Whitman. A lot of power behind it. Watch her approach from deep, that low elbow, and then she comes up high. Even though it starts off low, it ends up nice and high with a nice top spin to finish.
The roll shot able to get to the floor for Minnesota as the block not there for the Huskers on time.
And you see John Cook. I wonder what he's thinking. He wishes that his defense played that ball a little bit stronger, because defense really can change the attitude on the court.
The ace for Tori Dixon. And here come the Gophers.
Yeah, and this is what Minnesota does. They've got different types of servers. She's got a real hard, flat float serve, and there you see her dad smiling. He's enjoying this.
25th service ace of the season for Tori Dixon. And the Gophers are down by just 2 in the fifth set. Nebraska and Minnesota playing into 5 sets in this match in Minneapolis. The first time they met, it was in 4 sets. That was actually a close one as well, even though Nebraska was dominant in the fourth set, winning that one 25-16. A number of close sets played between these two teams earlier on in the season. And in the second meeting, Audrey, how are things different? You've seen an opponent before, you've had a chance to see how they play, and you know some of the tendencies. Now that we're in the fifth set, does it help you out at all? Have you played them for a second time?
Well, I would imagine it does, but I think that the headline for this story, to me, is going to be passion. I mean, to this match. You know, it's the team that comes out and really wants to win. We've seen it go back and forth, so I think it's less about angles and what the opponent's going to do, and I think it's more about how are we going to play on our side of the net? How do we want to be defined as a volleyball program? Do we want to finish the season, the Big Ten season, strong? And for Nebraska, winning on the road here would be huge. Minnesota, a comeback tonight would be a big victory for them. So, you know, both teams just got to play with, I keep saying the word over and over, with passion and heart.
Well, Nebraska comes in with more passion from Hannah Worth, but the passion here in that fourth set starting the fifth. We've seen more for Minnesota. The Huskers, they will not win the Big Ten title back-to-back seasons, but they know all of their goals other than the Big Ten title are still out in front of them. And finishing with momentum in the regular season is key to that. They did not last year. While for Minnesota, they want to make sure they show that they can battle, and they have done that, as they've had issues with not battling over the past few weeks. That has happened, though, tonight. Ashley Whitman out of the timeout, goes off the Husker block.
A great defensive play by Tori Dixon in the backcourt to save the ball. And then that transition swing by Whitman, high off the blocker's hands to the right back area of the court.
And making another ace for Tori Dixon. We're tied at 7. A 5-0 run for the Gophers. The freshman for the Huskers ends that run and gets Nebraska to 8 points as we switch sides.
But it could not be any closer. We are seeing exactly what I expected to see. It's coming down to the 5th set, and they are neck and neck. Both teams just taking swings at each other, and Minnesota very impressive in the service line. Nebraska taking control of the last pass and managing to get that crucial 8th point.
Almost the block for the Huskers. Ball will send over the free ball. It's worth, but Mancuso able to get a hand on it. Great up by Nebraska. Into the net on the air, and we're tied at 8.
Boy, Minnesota got that point, but I want to give some kudos to Mancuso in the backcourt. That is a great dig. She was low, forearms to the ground, and then just a mental error, something we're not used to seeing from Hannah Worth.
Worth having trouble receiving that ball. Catherine Harms gives Minnesota the lead.
Boy, flip a coin on this one. It could go either way. We're just seeing good play on one side of the net, and then on the other side of the net, counter-attacking. So just a very exciting 5th set here. These two teams really hungry for the win.
9-8 lead for Minnesota in the 5th set. They were down 7-2. Coming back again in the 5th like they came back in the 4th. They were facing a 4th set where they could have lost the match. They were down 7-2. Put together a run. That came on the serve of Dolly Santana. But here in the 5th set, it was on the serve of Tori Dixon. And now Minnesota with a 1-point lead. As we take a look at the contributions of Tori Dixon from the service line, also a season high in kills for her with 17. And Dixon, the junior, in the middle, coming up big for the Gophers.
Yeah, her foot speed is so fast, and she's able to mix up shots like we're seeing there. And then the block, her lateral movement so quick as well. So not only does she have good foot speed when she's approaching to hit, but she's able to adjust her feet in blocking as well.
At 9-8, Audrey, what are both teams saying in the huddle coming out of this timeout?
Well, if you're Nebraska, I think you go back to the keys. They need to keep pressure on Minnesota. They need to do a better job of siding out and not letting Minnesota get a string of points. Minnesota, on the other hand, relying heavily on their serve. They need to not be tentative when they get to the service line. Let it rip and put pressure on Nebraska's passing game.
Minnesota 6 points from an upset win. Nebraska just down by 1. Maybe Palmer to serve out of the timeout. Cook has to run this one down. The bump set goes to Hannah Worth. Santana punches it, and the joust is won by the Gophers.
Well, Knutson with a nice heads-up play to turn around and block the ball as it was being attacked on that overpass attack. So Knutson saves that point for her team.
5 points from the win for Minnesota. Overpass created, and
That's a point for Dana Knutson.
Dykstra not able to control the pass. It was a float serve by Palmer. Nothing too fancy, nothing too fast, but the movement of the pass, the movement of the serve causes the pass to be a little bit more difficult.
Dolly Santana just trying to get in the way of that ball. Comes off though for the point for Nebraska. They're down by 2. Paige Hummel, the senior captain, back in to serve for Nebraska. Out of play for Catherine Harms. They were not in system, and Harms put too much on the ball.
Right, you got to better the ball. So yeah, it wasn't a perfect pass, but you got to get a set, and you've got to put that set to where the hitter is going to be in a good spot to hit the ball. She's a lefty, so bringing that ball into the court makes a left-handed player, it makes it very difficult for them to get their feet to the ball.
Whitman this time off the touch.
Well, it seems like Minnesota is on track here. They're playing again a little bit better than they had in the previous sets. A nice swing by Whitman over top of the block, and what makes that possible is a strong approach and a high snap on the ball.
Whitman will take a seat. Carly Hauer back in to serve for the Gophers. Mancuso terminates for Nebraska.
So the problem was Minnesota gave a free ball over the net. You see Lauren Cook jump setting, getting that ball to the outside quickly. Mancuso one-on-one. Boy, she's going to score every time. So Minnesota had the opportunity to score, and unfortunately for them, they did not.
Tramer laying out to keep that ball in play. Mancuso with another chance. He catches the line, tied at 12.
Mancuso with a variety of shots. Look at that. She didn't go for the hard shot. She went for the well-placed shot. That's a great replay there where we see that she took a little bit off her arm swing and placed it in the back corner of the court.
Tied at 12 here in the 5th set. Gina Mancuso, again, stepping up for her team. We mentioned she's coming off a season-high 20 kills, and another great effort by Gina Mancuso. She's got 16 in this match.
You know, Mancuso, I have been impressed with her. She didn't start as a freshman, so she kind of came out of the shadows. Her junior year, had a great career last year, really led her team to that title. This year, as a senior, doing a really good job as captain and getting big kills tonight, 16 for the night so far.
And Gina Mancuso trying to do what her older sister Danny did, which is get Nebraska a national championship in 2006. Danny Mancuso was part of that team that won the national title. That was the last national title for this Nebraska team. They also have not been to the Final Four since 2008. Only one member of the team, and Allison McNeil, was on the squad in 2008 when they lost to Penn State in the national semifinal. They have the goals out in front of them. They've called it unfinished business all season long, and making a deep run in the tournament and winning the national title is part of it.
Yeah, and I think, you know, they need to know that they can win these tight matches. So this one is a great challenge. It's a challenge for both teams. It's really a race to 3 points. You've got to play consistently well. You cannot have unforced errors. You want to refocus. You know, you had a timeout there. Let's play. It's 3 points. Who's going to win the match?
Santana with the point for Minnesota out of the timeout.
Well, you don't have to build her confidence. She takes a pressure situation and delivers for her team. She is just 17. Unbelievable.
Career high for Dolly Santana, the true freshman at 17 years old out of Puerto Rico. And Lawmaster will check back in. She came out of the match as libero Morgan Bull in as libero for Minnesota, but Lawmaster in to serve as the defensive specialist. She is allowed to do that, to change the jersey. become a defensive specialist and sub in for the Gophers after playing libero in the first 2 sets. Mancuso on the second chance.
All right, now it's a game of 2 points. So the serve and pass game becomes critical. Will Lawmaster stay in there and serve receive? This will be interesting. If Hugh McCutcheon keeps her in, because that has been the area where she has struggled.
Maybe not. They take her out and bring back in Morgan Ball. Morgan Brookheis. Have a chance, but a good dig by Palmer to keep it alive, but into the net, and the point to Nebraska. It's match point for the Huskers.
A very awkward and difficult angle for Santana to hit that ball. She really had no chance at scoring.
But Catherine Harms keeps Minnesota in it.
And a clutch pass again by the libero, Morgan Bull. She could have easily been afraid to pass the ball, but she steps in, does a great job of passing, and then the leader out there, Harms, delivers a kill.
We go to extra points in set 5, and Harms back to serve for Minnesota. Mancuso on the right side is blocked, and it's match point for the Gophers.
The Gophers celebrating that big point. There you see Santana again. She's got high fives for everyone on that team.
First match point for Minnesota. Mancuso keeps the Huskers in it.
The arm of a killer right there. She has got fight in her. What a shot down the line with a ton of force, keeping her team in this one.
Have to win by 2 in the 5th set, so tied at 15. We go back and forth. It'll be Mancuso's turn to serve for the Huskers. Out of system for the Gophers. Another match point for Nebraska.
Wow. We're seeing some good volleyball now. What we didn't see in the first couple sets, we are seeing now. We're seeing a lot of fight. Nebraska in the driver's seat with Mancuso's serve.
Santana with another huge kill.
And Hugh McCutcheon comes off the bench, and he is fist pumping that freshman. He's going, nice job out there. That is clutch.
Clutch from the true freshman, and can she get it done from the service line now for Minnesota? Just at the net, there's going to be a whistle though, and the point to the Gophers.
And that was Santana bringing the heat with her serve, putting pressure on Nebraska. Can she do it again for the match?
Second match point for Minnesota as they try to close out the upset win. Almost an ace. Santana. Whitman is there, and too many touches. Actually going to be a lift call against Minnesota, and we continue to play in set 5.
Well, I like the fight in both teams. They both are going for it. We're seeing big swings on the outside. You clearly see the lift there, but I am impressed by both teams, neither one giving up.
With the swing, another match point upcoming for the Gophers.
So now the driver's seat, we see Minnesota switching spots, and now they have match point in their hand.
This feel a bit similar to the match you called a couple of years ago between Penn State and Minnesota, Audrey. I believe that was a 23-21 finish in the fifth.
Yeah, that was an incredible match and one I will never forget.
Third match point upcoming for the Gophers with Dixon serving. She already has 2 aces. Just able to keep it in play with the Gophers. Another chance for Hannah Worth, and she gets it tied again.
Watch the saves on both sides of the net here. Great effort by Minnesota. And then Worth using that block. Wow.
Neither team wants to give up this 5-setter. She puts 2 hands on that one. A lift's going to be called, so the point to the Gophers.
Well, Minnesota got lucky. Ashley Whitman really didn't send over a very hard attack, and I really thought Nebraska was going to transition and score, so Whitman got saved there by a Nebraska error.
Match point number 4 for Minnesota. Save it right off the Gophers, so another chance for Hannah Worth. Calder to Whitman. Overpass. Can the Gophers finish it? They don't. Haggerty puts it over, tied at 19.
Wow. I keep saying wow, but I don't know what else to say. Mike, I'm hugging you over here. This is so exciting. Look at that play. And again, maintain composure. You got to win by 2, so you just want to string 2 good points together.
This was a 7-2 lead to start the 5th set for Nebraska. Minnesota clawed their way back, and we continue to play. Dana Knutson, another match point coming up for the Gophers.
To set that ball, such confidence Alexandra Palmer has to put the ball to Knutson as she's moving to her left area of the court. What a gutsy play.
Take it in 5 on the block. What an effort by this Minnesota team to come all the way back in sets 4 and 5 to win it 21-19 in the 5th set.
And Dixon, such excellent play on her part. Her numbers are incredible, but Dally Santana, again, when they needed that leadership, it came from somebody that we wouldn't expect, the freshman on the court.
The freshman, a leader for this team, but the performance of the match presented by Pure Silk is Tori Dixon. 16 kills, hit 407, those 2 aces, and 7 blocks. And just enjoying the night are the Golden Gophers as they take it over the Cornhuskers, the 14th team in the nation, defeating the 9th-ranked Nebraska Cornhuskers.